The Lost Bullet series comes to a conclusion, but unfortunately, it does not go out with a bang, it goes out with a whimper. I love this series. I still think that it's the perfect antidote to The Fast and the Furious, which is, it's now beyond pantomime. I don't know. I know exactly why it exists. I know exactly why we continue to have those movies. Because, and I'm sure I sound like a snob right now, your average cinema goer doesn't have brain cells enough to understand that they are being fed pap. I mean, it's just the worst possible. It's the lowest. It is cinema at its lowest. And to quote, although no verbatim, what's it called, Werner Herzog, he would rather watch a decent kung fu movie rather than Godard, Jean-Luc Godard. I'm okay with that, but I mean, sort of, even when it does come to your kung fu movie, I still want something more than mindlessness. I want something more than Vin Diesel going on about family. I want something that is. Do you remember that scene? And I don't know which I was about to say Fantastic Four. Sorry, which Fast and the Furious, in which, the one in which they're on the ice, and the submarine pops out, and the cars, they're all there, and an explosion happens, and Vin Diesel swerves in to sort of protect his family from the blast, but little does he realize the gap underneath the car. I mean, but nothing happens. That's where Lost Bullet, or Ballet Perdu, the Netflix produced trilogy now, starring Alban Lenoir, I thought is exactly the kind of motor mayhem, exactly the kind of film that combines action, fast cars, crime, all together into this perfect, medley of, sort of real accidents, bone-crunching violence, and a pretty decent story. They released the third one, Last Bullet, I think last week. And I have to say I was disappointed. The first two movies are really good, and I was really, really banking on this third one to be like, the one that, is the icing on the cake, that will really top off the last two, that will best them. Unfortunately, I wonder if this is fatigue on the filmmaker's part or the studios, but there was this sense in this movie of just trying to wrap things up. I mean, the first two movies were so inventive in their set pieces. This movie, I mean, I'm going to quote them. I'm going to, reference each, the ones that I'm talking about. But this one, it just feels like they're going through the motions. I mean, perhaps these guys were working on something else at the same time. I don't know. But there's something about these guys. Not these guys, but just the story, the action, the set pieces, because that's why we're here, right? It just didn't deliver on any front. The first movie, if you remember, I mean, from the get-go, when, the lead character, Lino, when he's, him and his brother are trying to, break into that place, and he super, it's like not even on nitro. I don't know what it's on. It's not on nitro. It's like on steroids or something when that small car breaks through the wall. From that until the very last moment of that movie, it's just action, 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 action. Do you remember what's it called? The police station fight scene where he breaks out. That was so well done, so well choreographed. In part two, where he breaks into the police station, what a great action scene. When he has his car and it's supercharged with those, those pincer type things, and there's that current running through them, and he just launches cars off of the deck. Amazing. We don't see any of that in this movie, in part three. Lazy, running out of ideas. What did they do? I mean, clearly, they had the money because, sort of, considering the success of the past two movies, I'm sure Netflix wouldn't have cheaped out this time around. But this movie has two fight scenes. One is, of course, with Areski, one of the characters, in his cabin. It doesn't last, it's what, like a couple of minutes long. The other one that I was expecting a lot from was the tram fight between, it was a three-way fight on the tram. The last time we saw, I think, a semi-average tram fight was in Shang-Chi, Marvel Shang-Chi. But in this case, it was just whatever. And then the last, the finale, where you'd expect, real mayhem, like real, sort of tire on tire, metal on metal action. You just had fireworks. You had this, a tow truck souped out, and, they had, him firing fireworks, a helicopter and stuff like that. I wanted him to go, head to head, his pickup truck versus that semi. That doesn't even happen either. So what happened this time, guys? I mean, this is a fan, reaching out to you, calling out your error, your mistake, at least with this movie. Because I really wanted you guys to go out on top with this, with something, considering the legacy of your past two efforts. I really wanted to see something. Well, the only thing that stood out in this movie, but then this is something that they've done throughout the past two films, is at least when they have accidents, they look real. I mean, in this movie, there's that one scene where he's driving this, what car is that? It's an Alpine, I think. And he's trying to thread the needle, and there are these two dump trucks, but he can't get it. And, right before, he crashes in and goes, and boom, and dude, the car is wrecked. The car is just totaled. And that's something that you rarely see in, the Fast and Furious movies. Their cars, I mean, when Vin Diesel is pulling that safe through the streets of Brazil, I mean, the cars are they're not real world trashed the way these cars in Last Bullet are. I mean, this is serious damage. Even when one of the semis, I think, flips, that's like serious accidents happening, and it sort of terrifies you because you don't want to ever get into a vehicular accident like that. But I was let down. So guys, and I was even let down when these guys did last year a remake of The Wages of Fear. That was also Netflix produced, and he was starring in that movie again. That was not as good. Definitely not as good as the first one. Nowhere near. That's a classic. But then even, for example, Sorcerer, which was the William Friedkin, the English, version of that movie. Nowhere near that either. What are you guys doing, man? Come on. I mean, you guys have made some really decent movies. Get back to that, man. I don't want to have to say that, unfortunately, I'm only going to consider this the first two movies. So, I mean, good movie, great sequel. But great trilogy, not so much.